Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I am joined by the dynamic Ann Lancaster today. So she joins us for our first episode in our blockchain and fintech series. And the series will focus on experts sharing use cases that are making significant strides continentally. And as you guys know by now, I'm all about the continent. South Africa is a small market, hey Leanne. So focusing on continental growth, continental expansion is always key for me. So you'll hear from dynamic experts during the series. It's going to be pretty amazing, so don't miss it. This is our first episode featuring Leanne. Leanne is the Chief Growth Officer at Mama Money. Whoa. She knows all about growth, guys. She's also the chair for the African Women in Fintech and Payments. And she's been such an amazing support for the collective. For the past 3 years, I will not forget meeting you for the first time. I think it was one of our pitching sessions in 2017, Leanne. And from that day, building a relationship. You sat on the advisory board for some of our female founders. And now, guys, she sits on the board of directors for the collective, holding me accountable for our growth. So, Leanne, you are pretty dynamic. I mean, also a wife and a mom of 7. I'm sure you had your hands full during the lockdown before schools opened. But well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for making time. And I know that you're busy, so I absolutely appreciate it. Leanne, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself a bit more and just tell us a bit about your career and how you made it into the fintech space.
So, wow. Thank you, Anta, for that glowing introduction. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to share my experience with the 88 Business Collective Village and the wider community. You know, I'm certainly humbled that my journey may inspire others, and I'm really happy to share my story. I've been very fortunate to have spent my career working in various financial industries, specifically serving those individuals who have been financially excluded from the formal financial services sector. So let's start way back in the beginning. I started my career working in formal financial services with organizations like Discovery, FedSure, and Liberty some 25 years ago. Now I'm starting to show my age a little bit. And at the time, all of these organizations were delivering solutions and products to the market that were new and revolutionary. This exposed me to working within organizations that were challenging the status quo, and I absolutely loved this. I loved working where we were being part of something larger and making a difference in the world. I loved the squiggly journey of making something phenomenal from very little. So during my time at Liberty Life, I had the incredible opportunity where they needed a key individual to establish the healthcare market in Cape Town. I was 6 months pregnant, and I put up my hand and I said, I'm in for this. So armed with a cell phone, a laptop, and a car, I headed to Cape Town from Johannesburg, and I started a brand new division at Liberty Life. So, having experienced rapid growth in the bank assurance arm of Standard Bank, Liberty's strategic focus was to create its expertise and experience to offer a financial services product to the underserved market. And so Liberty Active was then born. Liberty Active provided a range of affordable microinsurance and low advice investment products to families offering financial security, savings, and wealth building opportunities, but specifically for the families that were in the low to middle tier income bands. So I started off Liberty as the first sales manager for one product in the Western Cape, and was responsible for establishing the operations from scratch. I built up a phenomenal team, and my team and I consistently smashed our sales and revenue targets, and I was promoted from sales manager for one product to branch manager for all 3 products, and within 3 years I was provincial manager looking after the entire region. I was young, I was 26, and I had all the energy and chutzpah to take this challenge on. it really taught me about grit and determination to successfully create something from the bottom up. And I actually saw that you could have a startup within an established business. Liberty was great. I absolutely loved it. But, after some time, it was my time to move on and look for something more progressive. So I moved to an organization called TransUnion, consulting to large credit organizations and large corporates. A little bit about TransUnion. It's an international company that provides credit information to about 45,000 businesses worldwide. And it holds about 500 million consumer records in 33 countries. My role in TransUnion, again, I was not working at head office. I was working in an isolated office. So it required a great degree of independence, working apart from head office, without the resources, without the support. And I needed to establish a solid distribution in new regions. So, I was used to this. I was used to setting up something new, starting from scratch. And it never really hindered me. In fact, it became more of a catalyst for change for me. So my passion for using financial services that positively impacted the lives of others was fueled during my time at Liberty, and then started to be exposed to new types of credit models that supported the underserved market. So we all know it's very difficult to get credit if you don't have credit. So how do you get credit if you don't have credit? So through TransUnion, developed a bespoke model for that underserved population. But there was something missing. Corporate is corporate, and how do you make a difference in the lives of others at a corporate level unless you're running a CSI project? So one of my customers that I consulted with at TransUnion was an organization called the Kuyasa Fund. This customer was completely left-wing to the traditional business, but I kind of held on to it because I felt I could make a difference here through offering credit scoring models to the Kuyasa Fund. So the Kuyasa Fund is a non-profit social development organization that uses microfinance as a tool for improving the housing conditions of South Africa's poorest communities. They support community groups towards savings, towards a home loan, and grant loans to individuals that had been displaced by apartheid. You drive along the N2, you drive through South Africa, and you see all of these communities that have been set up really, really away from working opportunities, long distances that they needed to travel. And then to make it even worse, the traditional financial services system said, well, these customers are the poorest of the poor and therefore are not creditworthy. And they've got no credit history, so it made it very difficult to offer credit. But the one thing that's very, very prevalent in African communities and in underprivileged communities is mass savings groups. So there already is a form of data that you can utilize to score someone. So we mobilized group savings and we utilized a financial and social capital scoring model to give credit to people who needed to build on their homes. So given the failure of the South African banking sector to extend suitable credit facilities to low-income population, we used microfinance to provide a tool to improve housing conditions. So, it was as simple as saying, we can give you a loan of 5,000 Rand to build a toilet on your home because you and your children need to walk 300 meters in the dark to access a toilet. Yeah. That post-apartheid that people were still living in these conditions, and it's still happening today, and they struggle to access services and financial services to improve their living conditions. So the Kuyasa Fund was there to help people expand and improve their homing conditions. And the target population was really women, female-headed households, pensioners, those that are not formally employed. And we gave them the knowledge to help them grow their finances, to manage their finances, but then also to be able to share their home with their families in a way that so many people take for granted. while I was working at the Kuyasa Fund, this was the days before mobile application phones, before Androids, before apps. And so we developed the very first Windows-based mobile application and in-field loan management system. This was exciting. Nobody had ever heard of walking into a township and being able to facilitate a loan application on a cell phone, and then using a Bluetooth printer to print out these forms, get someone to sign it. It was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. I loved making a difference in the lives of these female-headed households. Unfortunately, I was not a culture fit for the Kuyasa Fund. I loved the impact, and I needed to make the really, really difficult decision to move on, but leave the foundation to a phenomenal group of women who continued to build operational efficiency in the group. So I then moved back to corporate, working for an organization called the McKinsey Group, and I specifically focused on risk strategy, regulatory compliance, insurance, financial services, with a specific focus on credit management, again, in the lower income segments of the market. And the opportunity was amazing. But my heart of hearts always felt like, wow, I could be using everything I know, all the skills that I have to make a difference. And, you know, I love the McKinsey Group, but something was just missing. And we hear this all the time. People are looking to join organizations where you are making a difference. And, you know, having been born in Swaziland, I always felt as though Africa was born in me, as opposed to me being born in Africa. And I had these young, naive girl dreams of going and making a difference in Africa. And then the opportunity presented itself. And there was this amazing startup, brand new in the market. They'd been around for a year or two, called Zona. And Zona had this vision to create a cashless Africa. And the company aimed to support small businesses by allowing entrepreneurs to transact through their mobile phone, giving them access to capital, giving them the tools to manage their business. Zona was the first leading fintech startup in Africa. It was offering emerging opportunities, the opportunity to provide financial services to low-income consumers while earning commission and creating employment. Zona provided a mobile money platform, working with capital financing, business management tools, and entrepreneurial support, focused on helping businesses grow, and very importantly, increasing financial inclusion throughout Africa. Zona was rapidly expanding into new markets, and I started off as the head of operations. And as they were expanding into new markets, they needed someone to go and hop on a plane and open up these new markets. And so I challenged all assumptions and presented this lovely business case to the exec team as to why I would be the best person to lead the organization to expand into a new market. So again, I took this crash course in Portuguese, packed my bags, and I walked the streets of Maputo, navigating a highly complex and politically driven environment to sell the Zona value proposition and establish the business from scratch. My job was to establish the business, bring in a local managing director, and eventually step away. So after 10 months of working in this strange country, learning the different cultural influences and impacts on how you do business, it's not as simple as sending an email or picking up the phone and saying, hey, I got your number from somewhere. Not at all. You know, you needed a formal introduction in writing from someone in a letter, hand delivered, and somebody needed to sign for it. And I went to Mozambique and I did this. So having demonstrated significant success in closing key strategic deals for Zona in Mozambique, I joined the commercial team to focus on closing high-value strategic sales contracts. My focus was on omni-financial service partnerships, including banks, microfinance organizations, insurance companies, government departments, and mobile network operators. So here I've got all the lights going on because all my previous experience seemed to fall into place with these great building blocks. I worked with Zona in Malawi, Mozambique, the DRC, Zambia, and Ghana. And Zona went through a bit of a restructure process, and unfortunately, I was a casualty in the process. But that was okay. You know, I had accumulated so much experience, so much knowledge, and I felt empowered. But I knew then that everything about Africa was in my blood. And we happened to meet around the same time.
Yeah.
I then joined Mama Money. Mama Money is the world's first social business money transfer operator. We provide a cool, modern, safe, low-cost way for migrants to send money home to their families. We are designed in a way that helps these migrants who have left their homes and their community in search of better opportunities to contribute to their families and make sure that they are contributing to the overall survival and development of their families back home. Mm-hmm. Whilst Mama Money is a social impact business and our social ethics form part of our core identity, we're a technology company, and this forms the basis of our operations. We are a tech company that's providing a service to people that really need it. It's not a luxury product like video games or buying shoes online. Mama Money uses the advances of technology to provide a purposeful and low-cost money transfer solution. So I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Mama Money. I'm responsible for driving significant revenue growth by providing strategic leadership and direction to the Mama Money sales, new business, and distribution channels, insights in terms of product and service expansion, marketing, brand, and strategic positioning. And I have a corporate leadership responsibility for developing the plans and executing on the projects and initiatives that advance Mama Money's mission, increase customer and transaction growth, and ultimately ensure financial stability. As you said in the beginning, I wear two other hats. The other one is the African Woman in Fintech and Payments. I'm the chairman of the South African body. And we really are a network of women in the cards, payments, banking, and fintech space across the continent. And our main objective is to bring women together through network and partnership events. And then the other hat, which I absolutely am passionate about, is supporting the 88 Business Collective, who are on a mission to change the state of affairs when it comes to tech female founders, and ensuring that we're playing a crucial role in plugging this leaky tech pipeline, specifically for Black female founders who can't necessarily do this alone. And being part of the first two accelerator programs has been amazing. The significant insights that we've gained over this time has been really, really impactful, and it's made a difference in the lives of those female founders. So that's my story. It's a massive mouthful, but I felt it was important to give you all the detail.
And I love it. I love it, Leanne. And I think we really connected when we started chatting about the continent and the opportunities and its people and our travels. I think that sort of solidified this relationship over that coffee that we had. And to see that passion increase year on year has just been amazing for me. And that beautiful alignment of values that stems from a love for our continent and its people. Incredible. So tell me about one or two things that you love about traveling across the countries that you've been to.
Wow. So what do I love about traveling? I think it speaks to what excites me most about working in these African countries. I love the absolute humanness of working throughout the continent, whether you are in Malawi, in Zomba, or Zambia, in Livingston, or Mozambique, in Shai, the connection of people at its basic form is always the same. We're all interconnected with the same fundamental foundation of wanting to make a difference in the lives of our family and then our wider community. In South Africa, we share the value of Ubuntu, and Ubuntu directly translated from a Zulu phrase simply means, I am because you are. And it speaks to the fact that we're all connected and that we can only grow and prosper together through the growth and progression of each other. And I love this. Ubuntu is essentially about togetherness, how all of our actions impact those around us and the society. So for me, if I just come back to my experience in financial services in Africa, for me, tackling the massive opportunities in Africa from a financial services and fintech perspective has always been about Ubuntu. It's how can we together find solutions that change the lives of everybody? Yeah. How can we be because you are?
Absolutely, love. That is so, so, so important, right? And I think that's an element of what I wanted to bring into the collective. Yes, we're accelerating female founders, but we cannot do it in isolation. It's all about collaboration, right? I also love the fact that you threw it all the way back to when you were 26 years old. And what an incredible journey, love. What from corporate into startup. And I suppose being an entrepreneur and changing liberty, playing such a crucial role at Zona. And now with Mama Money, what a journey. Like, pretty phenomenal. What is the best piece of career advice that you've received to date?
So let's take it back to the beginning again. I think it's more about life advice that I've received. So prior to starting my formal career, I fell pregnant. Was 18 years old, and I was given the reality of being a new mom while studying. And so I made the decision to take the most challenging route, to complete my degree whilst working to provide for my son, raise him as a single mother. And I believe this was my first real challenge that taught me the importance of resilience, agility, looking for opportunity. And I realized throughout my life that that is the foundation that my parents had given me, is being able to adapt to difficult situations. And that for me formed the basis of my career, where I've constantly taken on challenges where the cards either weren't positive in every single situation. What I can gain or add to that situation has allowed me to embrace and seek projects or roles or situations where things are not pleasant or may seem difficult to overwhelming. And I think that has been the foundation of being able to create something amazing out of very little. So I think my advice to others is that build your muscle of resilience. Perseverance and grit are key to helping you manage challenges. Be curious. Come to a situation with a sense of learning. I'm always curious, and every single day I'm looking at what I can learn. And sometimes I don't always have the right answers. I don't have any of the answers. So for me, it's about executing, learning, adapting, and re-executing. And then, we need to be hard on ourselves to sometimes make difficult decisions. And knowing when it's time to call it quits, and knowing when it's time to be perseverant and have that grit. And last but not least is always fall back on your values. Having a clear value set and knowing what you stand for. For example, how much time do you want to spend with your family? Or what is your baseline level of debt you were willing to carry? When it comes to decisions that you need to make, always go back to your value system. What do you believe in? And then those decisions will be right for you.
Oh, I love that. Love that. And you're so right. I think resilience and having a growth mindset applies to you whether you're a female founder or not, right? But I think especially as a founder, those two things are so important. You have to stay curious. Did I ever think that I would be having blockchain and fintech conversations 4 years ago? No. But when the opportunity presented itself, I said, okay, let me just dip my big toe into it first. So I did that for a while. And now, what? By dipping my big toe, I've just discovered a whole other pool. And I want to keep swimming in it and actually dive deeper into it. So curiosity and having a growth mindset is so, so important, love. I think it's
Of course.
as you transition into the 4.0 as a founder, perhaps in an advertising space, in the fashion space, you might not see how tech or even fintech could play a role in your business right now, but it's so important to stay curious. Start reading, start learning, subscribe to podcasts, and just keep growing, keep learning. Okay.
Yeah, curiosity is really a desire to learn, to understand new things, to figure out how they work, like an expression of who we are. And it really opens and widens the mind at all times.
It does, and I know that our grandmothers, or was it our great-grandmothers, said that curiosity killed the cat. It's a good thing that we're human. We're not cats. So, go on and have that curious mindset and keep growing. I mean, I cannot begin to tell you guys how much my life has changed over the past 4 years since liquidating my ad agency. It's just been phenomenal. So some young ones, millennials, quintessential millennials, you know them, at the Woodstock Exchange on their skateboards and with their man buns, introduced me to Bitcoin. And as we were chatting about that, I started becoming curious about what powers Bitcoin. And so I started reading about blockchain. And from that day, everything just changed for me. And I am so passionate about this technology because I sincerely believe, I've said it before, that the future will be powered by blockchain. So, Love, talk to me a little bit about the African women in fintech and payment space. Do you believe that we're creating enough seats for female founders at the fintech table? And if not, what can we do to accelerate creating more seats at this table? Because like you've said, I think not just the apartheid legacy, but the colonial legacy across the continent has left such a huge gap in terms of socioeconomic, just the landscape around the rich and the poor. You know, it's such a huge gap. So I believe that fintech can play a role in addressing that. It doesn't help any of us to sit on that heap and lament what the colonialists did or what the apartheid government did. I believe it's time to move along. And in moving along, let's change things, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come. And so I sincerely believe that fintech can play a significant role in that. So how do we attract more female founders to this space?
Yeah, so I think, your first question is like, how do we create enough seats where there are more female fintech founders? And unfortunately, in Africa, as across the globe, we continue to tackle gender bias. However, as a collective of women and men, we are coming together and making great strides in changing the face of entrepreneurship in Africa through female founders. And there are a number of organizations, just like the 88 Business Collective, who are continuing developing programs, business tools, resources, community platforms, networking events that empower African women. And collectively, all of these organizations are providing a powerful base to build this amazing female-led community. In my view, however, there are still a few pillars that we need to tackle to accelerate this change. The starting point is delivering education to develop Africa's high growth potential women entrepreneurs. So we need access to specialized training and development. It needs to start at schoolgirl level, not just when you step out of university and you're coming from a framework that is 100% biased towards the development of men. So it starts off with education. then, you know, women are phenomenal. The old saying of, you know, that women are constantly at each other's throats, I think that's very, very old.
Yeah.
Women are starting to support each other and realize that together we make a powerful force. So I think that providing mentorship programs to help women entrepreneurs along their business journey, helping them with everything from an elevator pitch to supporting the next generation of women to build their businesses and to follow through their footsteps is very powerful through mentoring. Then very, very importantly is access to capital. So connecting Africa's women entrepreneurs to funders, getting capital. We need to be able to approach and challenge this divide of access to capital, where women entrepreneurs can showcase their solutions to potential investors and resources. We can create powerful networking experiences where we match businesses to founders. And then I think funders as well need to create a focus to help drive access to capital for women. You know, you teach a woman how to look after a family. You know, you don't give a woman a loaf of bread and say, well, there's the loaf of bread. In fact, you give the woman the flour and the eggs and everything else, and she'll make 20 loaves of bread to feed the village. So it's really giving access to that capital. And while we're talking about feeding the village, it's really about access to markets. You know, so connecting African women entrepreneurs to local, regional, and international markets. We all know how difficult it is to be breaking into markets. And so connecting women and showcasing our products across different markets and helping another woman along the way. You know, you don't have to help another woman straighten her crown and then go and tell the world about it. Help her straighten her crown and help her walk that path. It's not there about building your own brand equity. It's about supporting someone else to make a difference.
So,
and then,
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, you're right. And then, you know, digital channels. You know, we should be creating greater digital channels to connect users and to raise the voice of African women. You know, we understand the power of digital media to connect Africa's women entrepreneurs with global audiences, making their businesses seen, letting their voices be heard. And each and every day, we can share hundreds of stories of African women who are making a difference.
Yeah.
And then I think lastly is, as a collective of women, we need to raise villages every single day. So connecting African women to each other for collaboration and accelerated success. Women need to join communities, to meet up, to network with other women across the continent and across the diaspora. Let's look at doing business with each other. Let's look at supporting each other. Let's collaborate with each other. Let's open up new market opportunities for each other. And very importantly, share our experiences and our insights to help others grow.
Oh, that is so powerful and so doable. I mean, everything that you've described now, love, is so doable, right? And so I believe we have our work cut out for us, you know, as we move along from the colonial legacy, as we move along from the apartheid legacy, we have our work cut out for us, but it's doable. It's doable. And you alluded a few minutes ago, love, that from a gender parity perspective, it's not a South African issue. It is not a continental issue. It's a global issue. So we also still have such a long way to go when it comes to gender parity, right? But in your view, what do you believe accelerator programs like the 88 Business Collective needs to focus on to ensure a more diverse and inclusive economy? I think, especially as South Africa, we seem to still be struggling with this significantly, right? So what steps can we take to ensure a diverse and inclusive, and the inclusive bit is important for me, because just that because I'm a Black founder and I'm employed Black employees doesn't mean that my business is diverse, right? It doesn't mean that it's inclusive. So I even have to check myself before I wreck myself and ensure that our space remains diverse and inclusive. It is something that's been important for me from day one, and I've been very deliberate. So even the makeup of our board of directors, I've been deliberate in ensuring that diversity and inclusion. But what can we do, love? I think especially during the lockdown, we've seen so many articles around how far we have to go when it comes to diversity and inclusion as South Africans. So what can we do?
Wow. So, you know, I think business incubators and accelerators have really emerged as a popular strategies to support growth of entrepreneurial ventures, especially in high-tech sectors. They're designed to address networking, education, and capital challenges that entrepreneurs face. And I think these challenges are most acute for women and minority tech entrepreneurs. And I think that incubators and accelerators need to really focus here and have the greatest impact on these ventures. As women and minorities are not necessarily participating in high-tech incubators and accelerator programs at the same rate that their male counterparts are. And given the growing commitment both by the public and the private sectors to increase the number of women and minority-led and owned high-tech businesses, I think this is critical. It's critical to making sure that these incubators are more inclusive and are more diverse. Exactly what the 88 Business Collective is aiming to achieve.
Yeah.
In addition, I think these organizations need to look at attracting many young entrepreneurs. Young entrepreneurs are underrepresented in its largest form, and especially considering that 43% of all millennial adults are people of color. You know, there is a significant demographic trend in helping people who have been excluded in the past, and because of race, because of their history, and because of their background, and because of the atrocities of apartheid. You know, we really need to focus on really creating accelerator programs that are more diverse and inclusive. And one last front, not necessarily on the accelerator fund, but on us as mothers. You know, what are we doing to make sure our sons are really focused on supporting women? Our sons are prepared to make those bold moves to make a difference in the lives of women and future generations. I absolutely love my son's school in that they don't give certificates for marks. They give certificates for kindness, for going beyond the call of duty, for helping other people. So how are we as a society raising men that not only tackle and address the gender bias, but also that tackle and address the atrocities caused by the past, and are boldly and bravely saying what we're doing today needs to be accelerated to help more Black female founders and bring greater diversity and inclusion.
Wow, that is so important. And I guess because I'm not a mom yet, heaven knows when that'll happen. I tend to not even think about that, right? Because it doesn't play into my immediate sphere. It's not something that I am focused on immediately. So thank you for bringing that into the conversation, because it's so important. And I think I always say, you know, when our grandmothers and our mothers were burning their bras and fighting for our freedom as women, I think they left the men behind. They didn't pull them into the conversation and say, okay, guys, when we get what we need, this is what we are going to require of you. And I think, so we've left the men behind. And I think that's why you'll sometimes see the struggle between the gender struggle, right? Because some men are just not ready, or they weren't, prepared for dealing with a strong, independent woman. So as much as we were, I don't think that we brought the men along in that conversation. So I'm happy that you've highlighted that, love. I think this new wave as part of the 4.0, let's bring everyone along. And I think that's why the inclusive part of diversity and inclusion is so important for me. Let's bring everyone along into this conversation.
You're right, you're right. You know, I have a 19-year-old son who has just developed an app to identify young men who are sexual predators. And so he's now going through the process of getting his app marketable. And, you know, he said to me, Mom, the men that are offended by my app, then all I'm trying to do is make a difference in the lives of other women. You know, so even today, they're still, our children are still facing the same biases, just in a different form. So we need to make sure that the next generation are completely focused on making a difference.
Oh, I love what your son is doing. Man, you're doing a great job over there. What? Thank you, Leanne. So, I mean, just listening to your journey, right? From Liberty and growing that new business to Zona and growing that business to Mama Money and playing such an important role as the Chief Growth Officer. What would you say are your top 3 tips for scaling a fintech startup?
So I think the 3 pieces of advice that I would give is launch your minimal viable product as quickly as possible. It definitely does not have to be perfect. Then learn, adapt, and refine just as quickly. Have these constant feedback loops and frameworks to improve your product. I also think that you don't need all the answers up front. You know, we've all, at some stage in our career, sat across a consultant who's delivered this beautiful proposal on how to change your business, and they have all these answers. And most of those proposals are like great, and they get tossed in the bin because you don't need to have all the answers up front. You know, execute, learn as you go. And then very importantly, as you grow, help others to grow and take them on the journey with you. You know, you could, as a brand new startup, say, I need an admin person to help me with the day-to-day. And that person becomes so involved in your business. How do you help that administrator then grow into your business manager and potentially your partner? Take people along the journey with you. We're a village, and as a village, we grow.
I love that last piece. I absolutely love. Whoa, I think how many of us as fathers, if I think about my 26-year-old self sitting in my mother's lounge, starting my first business, thought about grooming and I suppose I played into that game when I was young. One of my first employees was my PA. For some reason, I thought it was important. But anyway, I didn't even think about, you know, equity. I didn't even think about partnership back then, you know. So it is so crucial to make sure that you bring everyone along. I absolutely love that. And then too, from a customer experience perspective, to listen to your customers, to reiterate. And yes, I think we've also said this to our founders, that you're not going to know everything. So don't even try. Don't even. Surround yourself with people that do, but don't for one second think that you're going to have it all figured out. So thank you. Thank you, Leanne. That is so, so, so helpful. What? Thank you so much. So over the past few months, we've seen that work-life balance has come into the media. I see it on LinkedIn, I see it on Twitter, where even though you're working from home, you can still burn out, right? So finding that balance, I think even as we move into the 4.0, as we move into our next normal, I don't believe that we'll have HR departments. I believe that we will have wellness centers, because everything is becoming very human-centric. So as work-life balance has come into the spotlight over the past few months, what is the one thing that you've done to stay sane during these tumultuous times? Because heaven knows the past few months have certainly not been easy. I think whether you are corporate or a startup, it's not been easy on any of us, right? So what's the one thing that you do to stay sane?
Anto, you are coming on the assumption that I have stayed sane. You know, there are days when I think I've got this, I've got it, I've held it all together. I've managed to, you know, have a Skype call while washing dishes, while doing this, while doing that. And there's some days that I think, oh my goodness, I horribly failed at this day, and let me find a glass of wine. So I don't know. You know, I think I have been able to adapt and be resilient and have that grit and determination. And there's some days that I haven't done it so well, and that's okay. You know, nothing like a good sleep to end the day and start the new day off well, and not beating myself up. You know, I always used to have this pristine home. When people used to come and visit me, everything was in its place. Now I'm like, hey, how's it? Like, sorry about the dishes. And, you know, I think it's just, I've become more human and less caught up in perfection, and realizing it's okay not to have everything 100% great. And then celebrating small wins, you know. I also learned a lot from my children. You know, my son managed to complete his coding course online, and he just went with the flow, and he adapted. And I was like, I can do that too. And then stopping to smell the roses. Yeah. You know, when things are just a little bit down, find that one thing that makes you happy. For me, it was about earthing myself. So I'd go and work in my garden, walk barefoot on the grass, you know, and just finding those opportunities to just ground yourself and ground, you know, what was happening. And then realizing everything in life is temporary, whether it's success or whether it's failure, it's all just temporary, and this too shall pass.
Oh, so true, love. So, so true. I think the one thing that I have learned is to just take it easy. And I've been on this journey of less perfection for years now. But I think the pandemic has just solidified that, where I'm in a space of it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And also my productivity doesn't define my success. So I can put my feet up. I can actually have a week. I can actually just relax and take it easy, because my productivity is not tied to my self-worth. My productivity and the ability to constantly deliver doesn't make me Anto. I'm Anto because I'm multifaceted. I am a sister, I am an aunt, I'm so many things. I'm not just a founder, right? So to actually give myself permission to chill, just chill, I think is what the pandemic has helped me with. And to really find that balance that, yes, of course, I can still produce. And for me, I'll always produce at what I'm striving to describe as an excellent level, so not perfection, but just excellence tied to everything that I do. And as long as I'm doing that, and I've done that for the week, I can put my feet up and I can come back to it on Monday and continue. But there's been a chill factor about the lockdown that I am immensely grateful for, incredibly thankful for. So in closing, and I really want to say thank you again for your time today, Leanne, but in closing, what role do you think fintech startups particularly should play in a post-COVID-19 world?
Yeah, I think, Angela, this is such a difficult question to answer. And for me, there is more and more people that are social distancing. I don't think that this is something that's going to change. I've always been a person that's loved big crowds. The other day, I walked into my local supermarket, and there were like 6 people in the aisle, and I was getting all frustrated and worked up, thinking, "Oh my goodness, these people not know about social distancing." And it made me think that there are more and more people are going to feel the same way. So I think fintechs are about creating simple, easy access to financial services solutions, and not just fintechs. I think tech companies in general.
Yeah.
It's really accelerating, and almost leapfrogging a lot of the technology that it's not necessary anymore. Before lockdown, I never ever ordered groceries online. I enjoyed the experience of going to Pick and Pay and shopping and picking my items. Now I dread it. It's like quickly in the morning, let's go onto my app, order what I need for the day, and it's done. And I have an extra hour in my day. Wow. And now I don't have to worry about traffic, and all this extra time has just completely changed my life. So I think tech organizations finding ways of doing things more simply, more easily, have got so much opportunity now, because of COVID.
Oh, absolutely. The one thing I love about online grocery shopping is that I don't come home with unnecessary stuff. There's no buying unnecessary stuff. So there's been a bit of a saving there as well, which I have thoroughly enjoyed. Leanne, again, thank you for today. I deeply appreciate you. I appreciate your support for the collective. And I love, again, your passion for this continent and its people. And thank you for working every day to bring about a much needed change for our people. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's my pleasure, and I am so humbled. I am so excited, and I absolutely love working with you and the wider collective. Even today, when I'm having a bad day, I go back to your old Brophy pauses and just listen and connect. So keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, and inspiring so many other female women out there to make a difference.
Thank you, Leanne. Okay, let me leave you to get back to your busy and we'll catch up. Thanks, Leanne. Take care.
Thanks, my love. Take care to you too. Bye.